3,000 feet underground, the air tastes like metal and dust. Every breath is work. Every sound echoes wrong. And every miner knows, really knows deep in their bones, that the mountain above them is not their friend. It tolerates them. Until it doesn't. Marcus Webb had been underground for 19 years. Started when he was 23, fresh out of a failed construction business, desperate for steady money. His father had been a miner. His grandfather, too. It was in his blood, people said, though Marcus always thought that was a polite way of saying he had no other choice. The Harlan Ridge mine in eastern Kentucky was old. Built in 1952, expanded in the 80s, barely maintained in the decades since. The company kept promising upgrades, better ventilation, modern equipment, reinforced tunnels. But promises don't shore up crumbling rock. And in the deep places, where men work in the dark with only their headlamps and instinct, the mine made its own rules. On the morning of October 14th, Marcus descended into Shaft 7 with his crew, 5 men total. They were tasked with clearing a collapsed section near the old western vein, an area that hadn't been worked in over a decade. The foreman said it would take 3 days, 4 tops. Just dig out the rubble, stabilize the supports, move on. Easy work. Routine work. Except nothing about that day would be routine. They'd been working for 6 hours when Marcus's pickaxe hit something that wasn't coal. It made a different sound. Metallic, hollow. He stopped, wiped the sweat from his face, shone his headlamp at the wall. There, embedded in the rock and compacted dust, was a metal box. Small, rusted, the kind that might have held tools once, or maybe someone's lunch. "Got something here," Marcus called out. 2 of his crew came over. They pried the box free, careful not to damage it. The hinges were corroded, but it opened with a rough scrape. Inside was a folded piece of paper, a letter. The ink was faded, the paper yellowed and brittle, but the handwriting was still legible, cramped, desperate, written by someone whose hand had been shaking. Marcus unfolded it under his headlamp and began to read. "If you're reading this, I'm already dead. My name is Samuel Ortiz. Today is November 9th, 1987. I'm trapped in the western vein of Shaft 7. There was a collapse 3 days ago. 8 of us made it to this pocket. Now there are 4. We're running out of air, running out of time. They won't come for us. I know that now." The company sent a team down after the first collapse, but they stopped at Sector 5. Said the whole western vein was unstable. Said it was too dangerous to go deeper. "They're sealing it off. I can hear them working above us. They're burying us alive." I don't blame them, not really. This mine has always been a death trap. We all knew it. But we needed the work, needed the money. So we kept going down, kept digging, kept pretending it would be okay. But I need someone to know what happened. I need someone to tell my family, tell my wife Rosa, tell my son Daniel, tell them I fought, tell them I didn't give up, tell them I love them more than anything. If this letter survives, please, find them, tell them the truth. Samuel Ortiz. P.S. There's something else, something they don't want anyone to know. The collapse wasn't an accident. We found something down here, documents, company records hidden in the old tunnels, proof that they knew the western vein was unstable for years. They knew people would die. But they kept sending us down because it was cheaper than shutting it down. We were going to report it. That's why they didn't come for us. That's why they sealed us in. The documents are still here, buried with us. If you're reading this, maybe you can finish what we started." Marcus read the letter twice, then a third time. His hands were shaking. His chest felt tight. 1987, 36 years ago. He would have been 7 years old, too young to remember. But he'd heard stories, whispers. There had been a collapse in the western vein, 8 men lost. The company said it was a tragic accident, held a memorial service, paid out settlements, closed that section permanently. But this letter said something different. It said they'd been left to die. It said the company knew. It said there was proof, and it mentioned a name. Daniel Ortiz. Marcus knew that name. Everyone in Harlan Ridge knew that name. Daniel Ortiz was the union representative. He'd been fighting the mining company for years, pushing for safety reforms, better conditions, transparency. He was relentless. Some people called him a hero. Others called him a troublemaker. Marcus had always wondered why Daniel fought so hard, why he dedicated his whole life to a battle he couldn't win. Now he knew. Daniel's father had died in this mine, and Daniel had never known the truth. Marcus looked at his crew, at the dark tunnel stretching ahead, at the walls pressing in from all sides. He thought about Samuel Ortiz, trapped in this exact spot, writing a letter he hoped someone would find. He thought about 8 men dying slowly in the dark while the company sealed them in, and he thought about the documents, the proof, still buried somewhere deeper in the vein. "We need to get out of here," one of the crew said. "Shift's almost over." But Marcus didn't move. He folded the letter carefully, slipped it into his jacket pocket, and made a decision that would cost him everything. "I'm going deeper," he said. The crew stared at him like he'd lost his mind. "What?" "There's more down there," Marcus said. "Documents, evidence. I need to find them." "You're crazy. This whole section could come down any second. The foreman will have your ass if you..." "I don't care." And he didn't. Because for the first time in 19 years, Marcus understood something fundamental about the work he did. It wasn't just about digging coal. It wasn't just about a paycheck. It was about the men who'd come before him, the ones who died in the dark, the ones who'd been forgotten. Samuel Ortiz had been forgotten, but his letter had survived. And if Marcus didn't act now, the truth would stay buried forever. He picked up his headlamp, checked his oxygen gauge. 53 minutes of breathable air left. Not much time, but maybe enough. "I'm going," Marcus said. "Anyone coming with me?" 2 of the crew shook their heads and started back toward the lift. The third hesitated. A younger guy named Cole, barely 25. He looked at Marcus, then at the darkness ahead. "This is insane," Cole said. Marcus nodded. "Probably." Cole sighed. "All right, let's go." The western vein was a graveyard. Support beams hung at twisted angles. The ceiling sagged in places, held up by nothing but luck and prayer. The air was thinner here, stale. Every step kicked up clouds of ancient dust. Marcus and Cole moved carefully, testing each foothold, watching for cracks in the walls. Their headlamps cut narrow beams through the blackness. The silence was oppressive. No sounds of machinery. No distant voices. Just their own breathing and the occasional groan of shifting rock. "How far you think we need to go?" Cole whispered. "Don't know," Marcus said. "But Samuel said the documents were with them, so we're looking for bodies." Cole swallowed hard. "Jesus!" They pushed deeper. 10 minutes, 20. The tunnel narrowed. They had to crouch, then crawl. Marcus's oxygen gauge blinked a warning. 30 minutes left, and then they found it. A small chamber, no bigger than a closet. And inside, slumped against the wall, were 4 skeletons. Still wearing their mining helmets, still holding their tools. Marcus felt his throat close up. These were the men who'd written the letter, the ones who'd been left behind. "God," Cole breathed. "They really did just leave them here." Marcus knelt beside the nearest skeleton. Carefully, respectfully, he searched the area. And there, tucked into a rotted canvas bag, he found them. Documents. Dozens of pages. Inspection reports. Internal memos. Safety assessments. All dated between 1984 and 1987. All marked confidential. And all of them proving exactly what Samuel Ortiz had claimed. The company knew the western vein was dangerous. They'd been warned multiple times by their own engineers, but they'd buried the reports. Falsified inspections. Kept the mine open because shutting it down would have cost millions. Marcus took the documents, all of them, slipped them into his pack alongside the letter. "We need to go," Cole said, his voice shaking. "Now." Marcus nodded. He looked one last time at the 4 skeletons, at Samuel Ortiz and the men who died with him. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry it took this long." Then he turned and ran. They were halfway back when the mountain started to move. It began with a low rumble, distant, almost imperceptible, then closer, louder. The walls shuddered. Dust rained from the ceiling. "Go!" Marcus shouted. They sprinted through the narrow tunnel, stumbling over debris, their headlamps bouncing wildly. Behind them, the sound of collapsing rock grew deafening. A section of the tunnel caved in, blocking their path. They veered left into a side passage Marcus barely remembered. His oxygen gauge was blinking red. 10 minutes. Maybe less. "We're not gonna make it," Cole yelled. Yes, we are. They burst into a wider tunnel, saw the distant glow of the main shaft. 100 yards, 50, 20, and then the ceiling collapsed. Not behind them, in front of them. A wall of rock and dust cutting them off from the exit. They were trapped. What happened next defied explanation. Some people later called it luck. Others called it divine intervention. Marcus didn't care what it was called. He just knew it saved their lives. The collapse had blocked the main tunnel, but it had also cracked open a forgotten ventilation shaft, a narrow vertical chute that led up to the surface. It was barely wide enough for a man, filled with debris, and there was no guarantee it went all the way up, but it was the only option. Marcus went first. He wedged himself into the shaft, bracing his back against one side and his feet against the other. Inch by inch, he climbed. His muscles screamed. His lungs burned. His oxygen gauge hit 0. He kept climbing. Above him, he saw a pinprick of light. Daylight. Real, actual daylight. He climbed faster. The shaft widened. He pulled himself up, grabbed the edge, hauled himself out, and collapsed on the surface, gasping, his body shaking, the documents still clutched in his arms. Cole emerged 30 seconds later. They lay there in the grass, staring up at the sky, unable to speak. They'd made it. Marcus didn't go home that day. He went straight to Daniel Ortiz's house, knocked on the door. And when Daniel answered, Marcus handed him the letter. Daniel read it in silence. His hands trembled, his eyes filled with tears. When he finished, he looked up at Marcus and said just 2 words. "Thank you." The documents were turned over to federal investigators. The mine was shut down permanently. The company faced criminal charges. Executives went to prison. Families of the 1987 victims received settlements. And Samuel Ortiz, along with the 7 men who died with him, were finally given a proper burial. At the funeral, Daniel Ortiz stood before the caskets and spoke. "My father spent his last days in the dark," he said, writing a letter he hoped someone would find, fighting for the truth even when he knew he wouldn't survive to see it. He believed in justice. He believed that someone, someday, would care enough to listen. He looked at Marcus, standing in the crowd. He was right. The letter is now displayed in the Kentucky Mining Museum. Beside it are the documents Marcus recovered. And beneath them, a plaque that reads, "In memory of Samuel Ortiz and the men of the 1987 collapse, they died seeking the truth. 36 years later, the truth found them." Marcus still works as a miner. Different company, different mine. But he carries a copy of Samuel's letter with him every day. A reminder that some things are worth the risk, that some truths are worth dying for, and that even in the deepest darkness, a single light can change everything.